Content strategy is a plan to create content in the right format. So let's say audio, which let's say could be podcast, or it could be, let's say, visual in video or photography format, or it could be written, so online articles, blog posts, etc. So all these content are there to really engage and attract the right audiences for a specific brand or business, to ultimately with the aim of creating opportunities like online sales and also leads and inquiries. Hi, I'm Laurie Wang. I'm a digital marketing strategist and also an online course creator. I create content to help others level up their marketing and business. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you get notified every time I release a new video to help you level up your content and social media. And let's dive into today's video where I'll be showing you how to create a content strategy for your brand and your business. Now, before you get started, the first thing to think about is how do you actually pick out the topics that you want to talk about? And in these topics, technically, they're falling within the content themes or pillars, people call them, or buckets, all kinds of names being thrown at it, but it all means the same thing. So essentially, these are different groups of topics that you want to talk about that surround your industry or your niche or what you're actually expert in. Therefore, you can constantly drag ideas out of these buckets, technically, into what you want to share with your audiences. And you might also be thinking, so how do I actually pick out these content themes or pillars? Where do I get the ideas around that? Well, there's actually quite a few ways to do this. And I think the first way, really the best way to get started, is to look into what you've shared already. So in your analytics, whether that's within your social media accounts or maybe in your own online websites, if you're sharing articles there, or perhaps if you're sharing visuals, let's say videos or photography, then places like YouTube, for example, if you've shared content there before, you can see what's been working well and what hasn't. And again, all these analytics really gives you an insight on what your existing audiences are already enjoying. And the ones that they may not have been enjoying or engaging with as much, then in that case, you can use some of these as initial ideas of the content pillars that you continue to talk about in your content strategy going forward. Now, besides analytics, the other way to do this, if you tap into your existing audiences, is to really take note on what kind of questions they're asking you the most often. So I get emails a lot from my online audiences or direct messages on my social media channels, and that's where I get the gold mine, really, of the kind of content that I should create going forward, because they're actually giving me lots of ideas on things that they have questions about. And usually by answering the questions of some of your audiences, you're technically answering the questions of many who are also very similar to them in that same mindset, the same perspective. So the way to think about this is that the relationship that you have with your audiences are really a two-way conversation, so very reciprocal. And what that means is that you're constantly listening out to what they want and creating content around that. It's not about creating content that's what you want to create, but rather it's a combination of what others are looking for and also topics that you're interested in. And really that cross-section is where the magic happens. Now, another way now to expand your overall universe of what you have been posting in the past and your audiences is to look at other audiences out there. And that means looking at the competitors in your space. Maybe pick out the top 5 competitors that are in your industry and then head over to their online public social media accounts and really just to see what kind of content they've been putting out there and what kind of things that their audiences have actually resonated with and really engaged with. And take note of these different type of topics. Again, it's not about copying, but rather being inspired by these topics and then using that to create content similarly in your own channels or in your own content themes that also talk about them but in a much more detailed or better way or in your unique perspectives. The key part of this exercise is actually just purely to get inspiration from others rather than actually comparing yourself and not feeling like you're measuring up. And remember, everyone's circumstances are different. Perhaps they have a much bigger team or more resources to invest in creating more content or better content. However, you're actually taking all of this into your learning process and actually investing time and effort in your own content going forward as well. So never get bogged down into that comparison route. Now, the last way to really find out what your content themes and pillars is to really think about how do you actually see what people are interested in over time. And one of the best ways to do this is look at trends. Now, Google Trends is a really great tool that's also free for this, where you can actually see how people's search volumes of different things have changed over time and whether or not it's actually a trending topic for them as well. So for example, you can search for, let's say, health coaching if you're currently in that industry, and you can see what kind of things that people are actually searching for within that, but also how that's been trending over time in terms of the overall interest level. And also on Pinterest, you can also search similar things, let's say health coach itself as a keyword, And you can see the type of content people are sharing underneath this topic and how you can also use that as inspiration to create better content for yourself going forward as well. Now, once you've done that, the other cool thing here you want to do to layer on that research is looking at your audience. And audience research is so important in anything you do in marketing, but especially in content strategy. Perhaps you already have an idea in your mind on who your target audience is, then that's great. And actually what's interesting is that throughout this research process, you might find out that your audience might be different to who you thought they were initially. But that's the cool thing about it, is that you actually get to discover that along the way. And once you know the kind of content that you want to create for your target audience, then you can figure out what channels are actually right for them in terms of seeing your content being distributed there. Let's say, for example, you pick specific social media channels that your audiences are actually hanging out on rather than all these social media channels at once, then that's going to help you to reach the right audiences without doing all the extra work of being on every single platform at the same time. And that's actually a really easy way to get burned out. And trust me on this, coming from personal experience, do not try to be on everywhere all at once. And also, having seen a lot of my clients have actually scaled back their existing social media presence on just 2 to 3 main channels that have really helped them really accelerating their growth. So once you research your audiences and you figure out where they are hanging out online, that you can actually help you distribute your content once you create them. You can also figure out the kind of topics that these audiences will be interested in. So in addition to the content that your existing audience may be on your existing social media channels and your websites are engaging with already, which you got lots of insights from in that content theme research process, now you can think about the kind of problems and challenges that you want to solve for your audiences going forward. So these include the key questions that they might be asking on the online forums, the key questions they're asking over on social media, and then seeing kind of key challenges that you can actually pick out that you can answer in your own unique way to help your audiences to get from A to B, really to help them on their journey on reaching their goals over time. Your content really reinforces the solution that others might be looking for, but at the same time also building credibility with your audience by offering them lots of help along the way. So once you've nailed down your content pillars, your content themes, or whichever one you want to call them, and also you nail down your audience research on who your target audiences are and where they're hanging out online, the next step really is to think about brainstorming some great topics and ideas to start creating content around. And actually a really good place, 2 places actually that you can pick out some great content ideas is one called Feedly, where you can actually scan through all the different published articles out there and using some of their content there to get inspiration from. And the other one is called BuzzSumo. It's a great paid tool, although slightly on the more expensive side, but I think absolutely worth it in the sense that when you type in a keyword in BuzzSumo, it will actually give you a breakdown of all the top trending articles and content that has the most shares across all of the internet. And really that gives you a sense of what's the most popular with audiences within this content theme, and also how you can create content with a similar topic but in your own very unique perspective. So now once you have the content topics, the pillars, and also the audience research nailed, now the next step is think about what kind of content format do you want to publish and how frequently you're going to publish it. So format, for example, let's say you are someone that really enjoys writing, then definitely written content is the way to go. So blog posts and also writing articles on guest websites, these are great places to be because then you're actually using your best skill to bring the audiences that enjoy the content that you're creating. And the other ones, for example, if you really enjoy making videos like this one, then you can just turn on your camera, start creating the videos around the key topic you actually picked out. The last one is audio. So some people maybe do not prefer to be on camera, and that's absolutely okay. You can then also create podcasts, right, around your topics that you're interested in, that your audiences want to see more of, essentially sharing those regular episodes with your audiences going forward. And once you actually decide on the format, then now think about how often do you realistically, right, it's a keyword here, realistically wants to publish content on this going forward. Because the key thing here is that if you actually do it all at once, you will easily burn out without maintaining that consistency, and you won't last long term. And content strategy here usually is a long-term strategy because that's when you really see the payoff over, let's say, 1 to 2 years at least to start off with. And some people have done this for up to 10 years, right? So therefore you should have a long-term strategy in mind and being committed in the long term for this. So think about realistically when and how often can you actually publish on a regular basis. Now, there's no perfect solution for this. It doesn't have to be, let's say, daily or weekly. If that burns you out, then that's not really a good place to be. It's much better to actually maintain consistency, maybe less frequently to start off with. And then as you get more comfortable or maybe have a bigger team, that is when you can start creating more frequent content on a regular basis. So once your content is actually created, Now you need to decide on where you actually want to distribute your content and promote your content going forward. So there are lots of ideas here, but the key thing here is think about where your audience actually lives, that we talked about earlier in the audience research section, and also for the content pillar research section, then deciding on the channels that make sense for you. So for example, let's say currently you write regular blog posts, and one places that are really good for this is one, Medium, where they actually have a paywall where people can pay to read your articles on a regular basis. Not only creates a great passive income option, but also allow you to grow your audiences very quickly on that platform. Now, another way to do this is also using Pinterest, because Pinterest is technically a search engine for images. And all you need to do is actually create a pin graphic on your blog post and then pin that onto your Pinterest account. And over time, as people are searching for keywords in your article, in your topic, they will come across your content there as well. Think about where it actually makes sense for you to be on social media, for example, to distribute these content going forward. And also demographic really plays a key role here. So let's say you have a much more younger audience that really has a very quick attention span, then maybe TikTok could be a much better platform for you, where you can use it to reach a much larger but younger audience there, and also using very quick, short, snappy videos. Generally, with anything with content, I believe in the 80-20 ratio. And what I mean by that is that you should spend 20% of your effort on creating the content, which is going to be a fantastic piece of content anyway, and then using 80% of your effort to really promote it. Because what's the point creating an amazing piece of content that no one actually sees, right? So really think about the key checklist of things that you could do to help promote your content once you create them. And actually you should have this in, let's say, a standard operating procedure document, so SOP. Other people who might be working for you in the future can actually just take them off one by one as they're actually promoting this content going forward. So make sure not to leave out this important step, because any content you create without promotion really just another waste of resources down the drain, and essentially not really benefiting from the content strategy as a whole. All right, so that's all of my tips on content strategy and how to create a content strategy for your brand and business going forward. So let me know in the comments below if there are any other things that you want to add to the list here, and also let me know if this video has been helpful to you. In the meantime, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and share with a friend. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.